Hi, thank you for joining us at this most unusual book festival. I hope you're finding some books that you like. My name is Ginny Brinkley, and my book is Goddess, a Child of the 60s. Now, all goddesses have their secrets, right? And this goddess is no different. She has a few secrets. Now, I'm going to share one of them with you right off. At one of her first book signings, it was a group of my husband's former high school classmates. And one of the guys there was a Baptist minister. He was most supportive of the book. He told my husband that not only would he and his wife purchase a copy of Goddess, but that they would promote it in their church bulletin. Well, my husband informed them that he should possibly read the book before committing to publicizing it in the church bulletin. What Preacher John didn't know is that there is some what might be considered sexually explicit material in the book. Well, Preacher John told my husband that his wife would be reading it to him because his eyesight isn't the best. And they did buy a copy, but we never heard anything more. And Goddess never got her endorsement from the Myrtle Street Baptist Church. I'm wondering if they're still reading it. I'll share some more of her secrets in a minute. I want to tell you a little bit about my writing background. I started writing at an early age, composing stories about my dog and cat. And I wrote my entire life thinking that everyone could write. This illusion was harshly shattered when I was in my 30s, maybe a few years ago. I was working in childbirth education with a group in Jacksonville. We were teaching Lamaze classes. We had handouts for the couples. Each teacher had her own handouts. And we thought it would be nice to compile all the handouts into a book. So we assigned topics. We had 12 teachers and we had 12 topics so that each teacher could write a chapter: pregnancy, birth, nutrition, exercise, postpartum, and so on. Well, when it came time to turn in the chapters, some of the teachers turned in nothing more than notes or an outline, and one teacher turned in Xeroxed copies of another publication. I was appalled. So 3 of us who thought we could write took on the project of compiling the chapters and organizing the book. Coincidentally, we were contacted by a new young publisher in New Jersey. It was Avery Publishing, and the owner was Rudy. He called and he said that he had a deal for us, that he was publishing materials for other childbirth groups, and that he would be happy to publish our manual for us if we would agree to purchase 2,000 copies for the couples in our classes, 2,000 copies a year. So that's about what we would need, so we made that agreement with him and began sending him the chapters. We also had a friend who was doing cartoon illustrations that we sent along as well. One afternoon, Rudy called and he said, "I have news." I'm like, "Okay." He said, "I'm taking your book to trade." And I said, "What does that mean?" He's like, "That means you don't have to buy 2,000 copies. He said, "It's so good, I want to sell it in bookstores and at trade shows." So essentially, I became a published author by accident. That book, Your Child's First Journey, sold over 100,000 copies nationwide and financed a few vacations for my family. Following the success of Your Child's First Journey, another childbirth instructor and I started writing materials for pregnant teens. And we began our own publishing company called Pink Ink Publishing. And we sold materials to hospitals, health departments, and schools, anyone that worked with pregnant teens. We did this for over 12 years and then sold the company to the International Childbirth Education Association. After that, I made an amazing decision. I joined a writing group in Jacksonville Beach. And through this writing group, we explored all kinds of writing options, and I discovered fiction. I realized that fiction was so much easier than my previous endeavors. With fiction, you just make stuff up, right? And you don't have to document. So right at this time, in 2009, I had an uncle who was moving into an assisted living facility. He had been diagnosed with Parkinson's. My husband and I were helping him with the move. And while doing that, we discovered a partially completed manuscript of what looked like it might be a science fiction novel. So I took that back to my writing group, and another lady volunteered to help me work on it. It was an amazing story, but my uncle wasn't a very good writer. So we took the story, finished it, re-edited and edited again. And in 2011, EarthQuest was born. Now, EarthQuest is a fun read. Essentially, the protagonist in the book, Dr. Bill Lance, is pretty much my uncle. It's as if my uncle wrote his memoirs with a fictional stand-in. But we're just not sure at what point the facts are left behind and fiction took over, or if my uncle really did have an alien encounter. So after the publication of EarthQuest, I decided to get serious about the idea that had been in my head for many years, the story of Goddess. It's a story of a young woman coming of age in the 60s. That's the 1960s. Her first love, her discovery of sex, sending a boyfriend off to war in Vietnam, and her college years. It's told by a woman looking back on her life. The protagonist is Annie, and reminiscing about her first love. Now, you might suspect that this is autobiographical as well. Many of my friends do. But I think all writing is autobiographical in a sense. You write what you know, right? A number of my classmates have called demanding to know who is who in the story. But I maintain that this story is fiction. It may have a few events based on things that actually happened, but the story is fiction. And anyway, all names have been changed. As for her secrets, although there is sexual content in the book, it is not offensive. I made a conscious effort not to be like the 50 Shades books. To me, their content was not sex, it was abuse and violence. A friend who read this, he told me that the sexual content in Goddess is not salacious. Well, I had to look that word up, but then when I did, I found out that being not salacious is a good thing. One more secret that you'll enjoy. One reader told me that she and her husband read Goddess together in bed. So if you would like to find out more of her secrets, Goddess is available on Amazon in 3 formats. And I'm hoping that you'll be among the many who have said that they couldn't put it down. One more thing, and this is not a secret. Goddess was a finalist in the 2019 Next Generation Indie Book Awards, which, as you may know, is the world's largest not-for-profit awards program for independent publishers. And this is why she has a gold medallion on her cover. Thank you and happy reading.